Lea is a dancer from Lausanne, and she has been dancing her whole life, as she will tell us in just a moment. She's a bachata teacher the last few years, and more recently has moved into role rotation instructing in bachata as well. She is a huge voice of empowerment and advocacy for speaking up for your own boundaries in the dance space as well. Welcome, Lea.
Thank you. Hi, so happy to be here.
It's brilliant to have you here. Really is. Lea, so you've been dancing your whole life. What did you start with, and then how did you get into bachata?
Okay, so I started my dance journey when I was really small, really little, and I started with ballet. Like many little girls, when we grow up, we want to be a ballerina. And my parents sent me for a dance class of ballet. And I danced ballet for about 8 years, I think, until my 13 years old. I loved ballet because it was really my first way of expressing my creativity. But then, it was mostly girls. And the pressure in ballet is really like you feel the pressure, at least in my times. Now I have no idea how it works. I really stopped. I never went back to it. But it's really like you have to be perfect. You have to be this type of body type and you have really to blend in. You cannot really be different. So for me, it was always difficult because I was like at a very young age, I looked already like, an adult, most like almost. And so for
Mhm.
me, it was really difficult to blend in with the other girls. And after a while, when I was 13, 14, I said, okay, no more. It's not for me. I don't fit in. Then I didn't dance for a few years. And then when I was at school, I discovered salsa, so Cuban salsa, for the first time. And I signed up for this, like it was a free class in my school with a friend of mine, a girlfriend. And so it began, with the Latin dances journey, and I really enjoyed the music. I love the Spanish language. So then I also wanted to see what else is existing as Latin dances. There were no one in my city dancing this. I knew no one. So it was really starting slowly and slowly. And then when I was in college, I discovered also tango, which I love. Tango is one of my favorite dances ever. It's super passionate.
Yeah.
The music, everything is really nice. And then I went to South America, to Argentina, to dance tango for 3 months. And this is where I finally get to the point of your question. I arrived and I discovered in this dance school, they were all different kind of dances, and I discovered bachata for the first time. I was like, wow, what is this dance? It's super sensual. I was dancing so tango and salsa at the time, and at the first time I was like, it's too sensual for me, so I didn't want to get into bachata. And then later when I got back to Switzerland, slowly and slowly I signed up for bachata class, but much later in 2018.
Okay, so it's been a long time coming for you.
Yes, it's been.
And at what point in your bachata journey did the advocacy for empowerment and for being a voice for women come into it for you?
So I guess in every aspect of my life, I'm a feminist. I've
Mhm.
always been, in the other topics of my life. But dancing was not from the first day, because when you're new into the dance scene, you have no idea. I just wanted to progress and be a good social dancer. That was always my goal. I went to dance parties, and I was like, okay, I want to be a good dancer. I want to dance with everyone, with all the best dancers. And at the time, I was a follower. And of course, I was looking at the leaders and I was like, oh, I want to dance with those leaders. And they were mostly, I think, all men.
Mhm.
So at the time, you were like looking to the men and be like, oh, I want to be a dancer that is good enough to dance with those boys. And after a while, after a few years, okay, I got to the point of having the level to dance with everyone. But then started the problems, because here we go again, like in society, same things happen in every, I think, community of
Yeah.
people. And I started understanding like what the hell is going on. Like I see that, I don't know, some men don't behave very well. I started to feel uncomfortable having also people like men. I'm sorry, I have to say, it's always been men with me,
Yeah.
which I had problem with, came to me, texted me and always wanted like something else. And I was really clear. I always say that I'm someone that is really unapproachable. Like when you start to go beyond the dance, I'm always like super, it's something else. If you want to hang out, like afterwards, words, or in another moment it's something else. But when we dance, we can talk, we can be nice, but like, don't push it. I'm really like this. After the dance, I'm not that nice anymore, because I felt I had to. I didn't want to like too open-minded, that people think it's okay, and that I want to be with them, I want to have something else. And all these moments where I felt uncomfortable, after a while, I didn't want to go to social parties anymore, and I had like something kind of a relationship also with a guy from dance. It was, I think, my only relationship with the guy from the dance scene, and it was really bad. And that person, yes, I felt really manipulated, really aggressed with this person. And so for me, it was also something that I said, okay, I need to be careful, because there are such people also in the dancing scene. They're not all good people with good intentions. And for me, it was passion of dancing that brought me there. But I understood at this moment that not everyone dances for the same reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I can think of my watershed moments as well, where something bad happened and I had no idea how to process it. But that was the shift it felt like a shift in worldview, where I realized not everyone has good intentions. And if I don't set those boundaries up, then I'm leaving myself vulnerable to them. Yeah.
Yes. And that's a bit the end of a myth, because for me, it was always dancing scene, and dancing in general has always been my safe space. It's therapy. Like, really, when I want to feel good, I go dancing. And I thought that for everyone, it was the same. And when you realize that some people take advantage of that, maybe they're drunk. Okay. But that's not an excuse, Some people, they go also for some kind of therapy, but not with the right intentions. And this is where problems start, really.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where the intentions of different people, the why that they're there, if it's not something, how to put it, when people are there, well, I don't know. Some people, they're not intending to make people feel uncomfortable, but they're willing to put their own wants above anyone else's boundaries.
Yes. And I think also there is it depends where, but in general, in some places, there is a lack of education also, and I mean, we come from all over the world. We have all kinds of educations, of cultures. So it's difficult for me in the dancing scene. One of the major problems, and it's also the good thing about dancing, is we're all different. So that's good, that's nice. But it makes that we have to set some standards for people to have some kind of safety for everyone, that everyone can feel safe, no matter where you come from, what is your culture, your education. That for me is the core point now with my work, is to say, okay, there are some standards in every part of the world for everyone, that everyone has to respect in order to everyone to feel safe, because in the dancing scene, it's not like in any other sports, for example, where you have these rules that if you cross them, you're out, when you go to a social, it's like, nah, my teacher, it's like implicit. My teacher told me, oh, I should do this and that, but maybe another teacher told something else. And then what do you do when you go to a social, know?
Yeah, there's no clear line, and there's no clear consequence when you cross that blurred line, and it leaves people open to vulnerability. And you're right with the education, but it's not just that some people are lacking in it, but it's something that we can all always be improving on. We should want to learn and grow more, so that we can. The more we learn, the more we have a good time, and the more other people have a good time. It's a win-win. There's no loss to learning more.
I agree with you. And I think we are both like this, but unfortunately, I see that some people are not like this. They're not even aware of that there is a problem. Some people say, no, I don't know what you're talking about when I speak about my experience, or other people's experience that came to me. Some people are like, I don't see like what you're talking about. That never happened to me. So for them, it's not even something they're conscious about, So to educate those people, or for those people to see and to say like, okay, I need to educate myself, we have to make them in a way see the problem, That's for me the first step for those people that are like, no, for me, everything is good in the dancing scene, there are no problems.
Yeah, but we're a community. So if someone says, for me, it's great, I've never had a problem, but the person you're talking to is telling you they have had a problem. So as a member of that community, whether you've experienced it or not, you can still go, well, there is a problem, because you're telling me what you've experienced. And that should be enough for people to go, there's more out there I don't know about. What? Tell me more.
Well, I think of course, I think like you, but I think some people would be only ready to listen if it's someone they respect or someone that has influence on them that will tell them those things. You know, for example, I don't know, some people will say if it's an artist who says that, I will believe this person more. If it's just a peer, I will say, maybe you're too sensitive, or maybe you interpret it wrong. You know, maybe
Yes.
that person didn't want to harm you. Like it's a sensual dance. So you have to expect those things to happen. And you're like, no, this is not it. Like,
Yes.
no, I'm telling you, but it's like in the normal life, those things happen too. It's the same. And the victims are not always believed. And that's a big problem, in our society. So in
Huge.
the dancing scene, it's the same. And they will only believe if an artist says, okay, these things happen, then maybe it will start, the seed would be planted and then it can start.
Then it can start. But every single one of those things you said, I thought, I've heard that. I've heard that. Yep, I've heard that too. And it's amazing how quickly people will bounce back with the "you're too sensitive" or you interpreted it wrong or whatever it may be. But it's so frustrating because what is an artist? It's someone who's danced longer and had more dance experience. They're still a person.
That's it. And some of them are good examples, for me at least, and some of them not, So it depends. They're just humans. We have to remember. So, of course, some of them are really to be respected because they try to do the work and really to push also and to, put a good example out there. I have to say some of them are amazing. And some of them, I'm sorry, I cannot look up to those people and say, there are my examples. No. And this is why also the community, for me, in the bachata dancing scene, this kind of hierarchy, is dangerous. Is really dangerous because people want to do and repeat the example of their idols.
Yes.
And they don't understand what's behind this, and the life of an artist is not your life. You cannot compare, you cannot do the same. And even for them, I mean, there is some accountability that needs to be set up because if even for them, they're like gods, there is really this God, complex they're off limits. Like they can do whatever they want and there are no consequences. And for me, that's also why I wanted to, have this anti-harassment contact person at the Bachata Geneva Festival. It was because I wanted that everyone has to respect the code of conduct and no one is off limits, even the artists,
Yeah, of course the artists, they should be as they are the faces of the event, they should be held to the highest standards if we're going to differentiate standards in some way rather than they are immune to them.
Exactly. Yeah. But the problem is, like people talk a lot. And about the artists, of course, some of them have a good reputation. Some of them have a bad reputation. And, as an event organizer, what do you do? Who do you believe? What do you trust if you don't have proof, if you don't have evidence? It's always a big debate. It's super difficult. So we try, we started 2 years ago and it's really building up. And trying to now have people talking really to say what they experience. For me, is the only way to get somewhere if it's people that come to us and start talking. If everyone shuts up and is like, I don't dare because there will be no consequences, of course we will not get in a better dancing scene,
Yeah, and this is it. It's having these conversations and showing people it's okay to talk about these things. It's good to.
Yes.
Because it brings awareness and it will show one person that they're not the only one experiencing this. It's not just them or them reading too much into something. And hopefully it makes leaders or men typically as it is, not always, but mostly, think, how am I behaving? Am I taking responsibility for my own conduct? And yeah, I think conversations, education, they're huge. Yeah. So how did you get involved with the Festival of Nations?
So the Festival of Nations actually started like in 2021 with the two organizers, which are Pablo and Thiago from Geneva. So it's been a little project that grew up in a crazy way and now is huge.
It's huge.
My God, yes. Now and every year it's gonna be bigger and bigger. I don't know where they will stop because it's always bigger. But we started with the first edition. It was only 250 people, more or less, and then every year more and more. And actually, they were just my friends from Geneva, dancing friends, and they said, "Okay, we want to organize the festival in 3 months." And I was like, "Okay." let's do it, let's try, and I was always part of the staff, but I had different roles. And then 2 years ago, so it was the first really festival of nations that big. It was the third edition.
Yeah.
I had this idea. It was my baby project. I wanted to participate in this festival, but with something that has meaning for me. And also in my private life and in my general life, I had a lot of things that were going on in my head. I was seeing a lot of things in the social media, also talking to friends, also that are also involved in the community. And I was like, I have the power to do something. And Pablo and Tiago are great because they always gave me like, okay, you can do whatever you want. You have this project. We trust you. And I mean, they're two men, so it's not always easy because there is no woman like at the top of the organization. It's them. Mm-hmm. So I was super grateful for them to give me this opportunity. And it started first with a round table. I really wanted to have a round table with the topic being creating a better dancing scene together, inviting artists.
Nice.
And giving people the opportunity to ask questions, So this was the first idea. And then I thought of this code of conduct because I was like, we have to be coherent. We want to create a better dancing scene together. But as organizers of a super big dance festival, we need to have a code of conduct because people from all around the world are going to come. It's going to be huge. And for me, I felt safer to think we will have a code of conduct. And also for those people which are making problems. And we had one person from, in the area that we knew could maybe cause problems. And we had already problems. And I thought, okay, we need to have some kind of code of conduct with, if this person doesn't respect the code of conduct, we have the right to say to this person, you have to leave. And we can call like the police and there will be consequences. Because for me, you cannot just say it because I have a law degree, I studied law. And for me, it's really about the laws in dancing scene. There are no laws, just the laws applying to the country. And I said, we need something written. And so it started like this. And then I said, okay, someone needs to implement this. Someone needs to be like the person of contact for this code of conduct and for people if there are some situations happening during the festival. So, it all builds up a little bit like this. Yeah. And I had really no examples because I don't know like anyone that does this in other festivals.
I haven't seen it before either. I know some people have codes of conduct in place. I don't know about their implementation processes because it's not very clear, obvious. I don't know. But the Geneva Festival was the first one where I've seen there is a code of conduct in place and there is a plan to go with it.
Yes, exactly. For me, it was also the first time. But then now, I research a little bit. I've seen there are some things in in Canada, for example, or in the US in some places, something similar. So now I think that now, in more and more places, I think also in the Netherlands, I've seen there is, an organization now that also is in events, not only dance events, but also in festivals. I don't remember the name now, but I know it exists. So I think now it's gonna get bigger. And I hope also that Geneva can inspire, other festivals to now get into this. And that's also my personal goal now. So I'll announce it officially here for the first time. But it's not been on my social media yet, but I'm going to announce it soon. I also want to be available to other festivals as a contact person, that I could write a code of conduct for other festivals according to their country, what they want to implement. And then I'm also gladly happy to also maybe train some, staff of the organization for people then to have their own, anti-harassment contact person and team, because it can be more of, ideally, it will be more than one person. It could be a permanent team that is there. For me, of course, I'm also a dancer, so I also wanted to enjoy my festival, but ideally it could be a person or a staff, several people that stay the whole festival in one place and that people know they're here 24/7 or I don't know, during the evening or whatever, and you can go to them if you have a problem.
Yes, that would be brilliant. And I think your festival will inspire others to do the same, because how can it not? It's about making the dance space better, safer, more accessible to so many people. What's not to want in that? And And now you're saying, look, I'll come and help you do it.
I want to.
That would be fantastic. And I can't wait to see who you start to work with, because you will. I'm sure you will.
Yes, I already have. I already have one festival. A friend of mine, which is organizing a festival, I contacted her and we're gonna start this with her. But then, I'm gonna put it publicly, and I hope some people will be inspired, because I had so many, people coming to me after the festival and saying, "Oh my God, I wish we had this in my hometown, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, but it's possible. It's not something impossible. You have to do it. I mean, you have to start for somewhere. And if you're an organizer, dance teacher, even starting small, it's something that you have to implement for people to think it's normal. Like to have a code of conduct, in your dance school, for example, like printed on the wall when people come in, it's something that then people are more and more used to see. And for them, it's normal. It's like in every, I don't know, you go to a club, there are some rules. You go to a library, there are some rules. I mean, everywhere you go, there are some rules. This is our society. So why not at a social party? For me, it's just something we have to know it's there, and that's it. Then it's going to be normal for everyone. At least that's my ideal point of view, I hope.
I can see that happening, and that I think there are so many of us who are agreeing with you and cheering you on, because that is exactly what we need, to have that as a normal thing, to kind of go, okay, I'm going to a new dance class in a new town because I'm on holiday. Let me check what their code of conduct is. That one day I hope will be the norm.
Oh, it's just me too. For so many people that don't dare because they're scared, they don't feel safe. And if they had, I don't say it's the solution, I don't say that, but if they have this code of conduct and they can go to the website and read it and be like, okay, it works like this. Okay, I'm going to be respected. It's inclusive, no matter what my gender is, no matter whatever, it's not about this. I can go, I will be safe, and that for me is the only thing that matters, because you're going to connect with other people. And if you don't dare to go because you're scared that you're not going to be safe, no, it cannot work.
No, and that shouldn't be our community when so many of us know it as a wonderful space. But what's more is if you have these codes of conduct that will say, this is what you can expect, that also tells you that if that isn't what you experience, you can say so.
Exactly.
So many new dancers come in and they don't know what the norm is. They're kind of getting used to it. And things like boundaries in Bachata Sensual, for example, they don't realize they can assert their own boundaries. They can say, I do and don't want this or that. Because we're not telling people enough that you can choose exactly what you do at any given moment.
Yes.
If we're not empowering people to do that, we're doing them a disservice.
I totally agree. Yes. In a dance like bachata, when you have leader and follower, that's also a big problem. Because it's amazing to be a follower. It's amazing to be a leader. It's not the same issues, with one role or the other. So for me, if you dance both, you will learn to educate yourself in both. And then so many solutions will just come naturally, because when you're a leader, you have to feel what it's like to follow, to feel what you're leading your follows, So does this make me feel uncomfortable as a follow? Yes. So I will never lead that. For me, it's really, there are some moves I will never lead. Never. Because as a follower, I hate them, So why should I lead them? It has nothing to do. And for a follower to be a leader, also to understand, okay, this can be tricky. Okay, this is not okay, For setting boundaries, I think learning by doing both roles is one of the easiest solutions to this problem for me. Putting oneself in the other shoes, that's easy. And then you understand, you don't have to explain. You just do it and you understand.
Yep. Empowerment and speaking up in the dance scene, it's a growing space, and it can only keep growing from here. With voices like yours, Lea, it's on an upward trajectory. Thank you so much for coming and speaking to me today.
Thank you so much. It was amazing.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered Dancers podcast. If there's an aspect of the dance scene you would like to hear about, or a particular teacher you would like to hear from, drop me a message and I will try to make it happen. Make sure you subscribe to get every episode as it comes out. Thank you so much for the comments and questions you are already sharing. I really, really appreciate it, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.